Hajime! Welcome back to Comic-Jutsu. This is JT McRoberts, and it's time for another episode of Comic Book Dojo. And of course, I'm joined by the one and only
Phil K.
Welcome back, denizens
And citizens.
We're going to take you around a tour of old school Ninja Town, because back in the day, everybody was ninja fighting.
No, we get ninja now, like a Judy chop.
Go ninja, go ninja, go. And that ninja craze kind of took over the early 80s, and it definitely spilled its way into popular media, from film to magazines to television.
American Ninja.
Yeah, and remember that goofy TV show, The Master, that had Lee Van Cleef?
I love that as a kid.
Yeah, I loved it. It was my favorite show. I was so sad when they only had one season. But it was goofy, but it was cool. So you got to see ninjas on TV every week. Here we see the classic Silent Interlude issue of G.I. Joe comics. And believe it or not, Phil K., this was my first G.I. Joe issue that I bought off the rack.
Boom.
Snake Eyes was always my favorite character. He was the coolest.
It was like him and Storm Shadow.
All the way from Snake Eyes was part of the original 12. Right. Storm Shadow was part of the next wave, but Snake Eyes was the first there, that all black outfit. Yeah, and the
mystery.
Yeah, and you didn't get the notion that he didn't talk. I don't know if he's actually mute, or he just chose not to talk, or he took a vow of silence. I don't know if that was ever explained, but you definitely got that in the comic books, because you saw that he never talked. But ninjas were everywhere at the time. I mean, you had
Daredevil.
Frank Miller taking advantage of them in Daredevil.
Wolverine is technically a samurai.
True, but he fights ninjas. And of course, more G.I. Joe, which hopefully we'll revisit some of these later on. Here you can see classic Mike Zeck cover with Storm Shadow with the katana. Ninjas, where Kitty Pryde trained as a ninja. I thought that was kind of lame, actually, honestly. If Frank Miller had done the art in Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, I probably would have loved it. But with Al Milgrom doing the art, it just wasn't quite the same. And then here you have Sam Marie. But if you had to pinpoint where it came from, it was definitely from a couple movies. It was a 1-2 punch of Chuck Norris's The Octagon from 1980, followed up by the 1981 Enter the Ninja, brought to us by Canon Films. I have very vivid memories of seeing The Octagon on TV.
Okay.
Back in the days where they played, rated R movies on TV, they just tried to cut the nudity out, and then they would have a blank spot or a replaced word for the cursing or whatever. But then you'd have all these fights and gory killing and all this stuff, and it was just great. And The Octagon was one that definitely caught my interest. And it was the first big ninja movie, and still, in my opinion, next to Lone Wolf McQuade and maybe Delta Force or something. I mean, the best Chuck Norris films, hands down. And then Entered the Ninja with Mike Stone as the ninja, but they had the great Franco Nero as the White Ninja, as they call him in the film.
They really call him that?
They call him that, the White Ninja. At one point, I think he has like a white ninja outfit on, which is totally goofy. But during that ninja craze, you could look in like the Kung Fu and Black Belt magazines and stuff, and they would have like ads for, ninja
training.
Yeah, and ninja weaponry. Like, I had tons of shurikens. And my portrays and everything, and buildings out back. I just beat them all to heck with shurikens. You could buy all these.
Or as I used to call them, throwing stars.
Yes, throwing stars.
When I was a kid.
You could buy all these weapons of death right there online. Not online, but through the mail back in the day. So it was quite a zeitgeist. Snake Eyes was interesting. On his original classified files, he's listed as a commando. His primary military specialty was infantry. His secondary military specialty that's giving me trouble for some reason today was hand-to-hand combat instructor. Now, in his first classified files, it actually cites karate, kung fu, and jiu-jitsu as his styles of his 12 known styles. But
12.
You'll find when you add ninjutsu in there, you get about 10 different styles inside ninjutsu because they have weapon styles and all kinds of stuff. They have styles for movement and break falls, and all of those are considered different styles. So you could easily cram a good 8 or 9 just from ninjutsu. Yeah, they are on top of those 3. Yeah. So we're going to see elements of that at play throughout here. But, I bought this because of the cover. I saw that cover and I said, holy cow, I have to get that. I mean, there he is, Snake Eyes. And it was so good that I went and bought the issue before it that was still on the racks.
Okay.
It normally, dealing with the drugstores and that kind of stuff where they used to have the spinner racks, they would take those down. Right. So I got this at like the Rite Aid, and then the Piggly Wiggly next door still had issue 20, from the month before. So I went over and bought it. Now issue 20 is kind of a lame issue, even though it has a good John Byrne cover. Yeah. But issue 21 is the sauce. This is an all-time classic issue. They've actually revisited this theme of the silent ninja issue a few times throughout the G.I. Joe storyline, so that's kind of interesting. Larry Hama really brought a lot of life to G.I. Joe. He was hired to write those original classified files, so he used his experience from his time in the military in like Vietnam and whatnot to create those. But yeah, just great stuff. Now, you remember in another episode of Comic Book Dojo, we came across Larry Hama artwork, and it doesn't look anything like this. This is almost 10 years later in 1984.
Huge growth.
It looks so much different.
In the skills.
Again, he's doing the breakdowns, but you've got Steve Lealoa as on finishes. So he's doing your inking. So he definitely brings a lot of the finish and the polish to this. And I wonder if he's responsible for a lot of this texture that you see through here, and the spotting the blacks and balancing the page out. But the page design itself is just great.
Like going to a Cobra stronghold.
Cobra! So here you see Storm Shadow flying in. This is Storm Shadow's first appearance. So really good reveal there. That's where first time you see his face there. He flies in, lands, reveals his prize for Cobra Commander.
Scarlett.
And this is a classic samurai thing where you see the swipe of the blade and then the whatever was struck, the falling apart as it's been sliced.
What skill.
And Cobra Commander is pleased. He likes having Scarlett here. Send her to the dungeons. And there at the bottom of the page, got Snake Eyes arriving on the B-52 or whatever that is, like Batman silhouetted against the moon.
Maybe say the sun, the moon.
But this is great storytelling. I like the use of the long vertical panels here. It accentuates the way that he has the flow of the action. This is really great staging from Hama. And this, imagine if this was the first time you ever saw this character, you'd be like, this is the coolest character in the world.
It's leaping out.
Yeah, where he silently leaps out right out the back.
The machine gun and the sword.
Yeah, so with Snake Eyes, they go on to, they actually set this issue up over a couple of the previous issues. Now, you never actually, I went and revisited these issues. You never see Scarlett get captured. Okay, so they were kind of on that month-to-month storytelling kick. It wasn't until Larry Hama came in, he gave it a little bit more of a long-term storyline. But here you see they've got a Snake Eyes classified file. And it says here, it's apparently received extensive training in mountaineering, underwater demolitions, jungle, desert, and Arctic survival, and some form of holistic medicine. No records, classified expert, all NATO and Warsaw Pact small arms.
Like a Navy SEAL, Delta Force, all in one.
All in one. So they set that up over 2 issues from the last page, and then here in 20, they have the tease at the very bottom, where they say, here, Silent Interlude, next issue. Snake Eyes battles Cobra Ninjas in Destro's mountain retreat.
Okay.
What a teaser. You have to get that. Like Snake Eyes battles ninjas? Wow. And again, this is all 1984, so it's right at the height of the ninja craze. It's blown up from 1980, 1981. You have a series of those Sho Kosugi movies, Revenge of the Ninja, Ninja 3, The Domination, the introduction of the American Ninja.
That's right.
Who's the true honky ninja. He's the true white ninja, the American ninja.
We just went from Hong Kong and China to Japan, the martial arts of Japan, like in the ninja craze.
Mm-hmm. It mutates like that every 5 to 10 years or so. The kind of martial arts craze does. And here you see Destro is checking his radar. This is all just great storytelling and staging here. So here you start with he's tracking his radar. There you see him doing it. Mm-hmm. There you see he's scrutinizing it. He's thinking about it. And here you see what he's reading. Probability of successful insertion. Less than 0% or less than 1%. So it's like, no need to worry, but he thinks about it. Well, what if? Who could accomplish this? He thinks about it. Only one man.
Ninja.
Snake Eyes. So here we start seeing the array of ninja abilities for Snake Eyes. Okay, so they have a lot of different jutsus and arts rolled into ninjutsu. Taihen Jutsu is the overall art of the body movement skills. The Torite is close in and reversal skills. Ukeme is break falls, which is common in any kind of grappling art. But they also have the art of leaping, which is Tobi. And Taisabaki, which is body angling, and Shinobi Iri, which is silent movement. So you get to see quite a bit of this. The interesting thing about ninjutsu, I was fortunate enough to go back and find some ninja books from the time. I've had these for quite a while. Published 1980, 1981, this series by Stephen Hayes. And they break down the ninja arts, but there's also there are philosophies behind their arts. They have a variety of stances, but then they have these elemental-based philosophies, like earth-based, fire-based, water-based. So they'll have a water response to this attack. They'll have a fire response to this attack. They'll have an earth response to this attack. So it's like a set of philosophies that they apply into each of the different arts, and it's all built from ninjutsu. So pretty cool. Scarlett, skilled on her own here. This is very progressive. Here she is, not waiting like a damsel in distress. I mean, even on the page before, or 2 pages before, you see her bite Storm Shadow. He gets a little handsy with her here. And she's like, don't you even think about it, Buster. He's like, I'll just behead this bitch and be done with it. And he uses his Toby leaping skills.
I know.
Jumps up out of the hole.
Nightcrawler style.
Yeah. So we've got the first appearance of Storm Shadow. We've got the first glimpse of Snake Eyes as an actual ninja. Here he's using those Shinobi Iri silent movement skills and brachiation. He's swinging on the rope there. Black Panther would be proud.
Or Tarzan. You got Tarzan on a vine.
But this is just classic military. I mean, staying out of your target's eye line until you're on them and can take advantage strategically. And I like that Destro has he has a chess set made of all the G.I.Joe characters and the Cobra characters.
I will defeat them.
I mean, this dude is thinking on some levels here, So it's interesting to think, who does he have as what? Is Cobra Commander the king and the Baroness is the queen? Where does Destro rank in this? Here he picks up the Baroness, looking at her. That's a running subplot there because they had a little love triangle thing between the three of them, Cobra Commander and Destro. The Baroness was like a Patty Hearst type character. She was real rich, and she was like the original social justice warrior. She joins up with this terrorist because all the injustices in the world that she's doing this whole Patty Hearst thing. It's pretty interesting. Here we get back to Storm Shadow returns to get Scarlett. By this time, she's freed herself. even though Snake Eyes is on the way to help her. Just taking advantage of the environment there, using the chain and the manhole cover. I like this page. Okay, this is nice. So a couple Cobra agents get the drop here on Snake Eyes, right? Got guns on him. Right away, he goes to the knife. This is actually a classic ninja technique. Here we see it is a fire response with the throwing blade. So we see here you've got the ninja with the katana gets the drop on Stephen Hayes here. So he uses the knife at a distance. Boom. And you see the same thing here. Boom. And he comes back with a knife hand strike. Kitenken is what they call it in ninjutsu. Uses the knife throw to close the gap, so to speak. Finishes with the backhand knife hand strike to offset this guy. Goes for the gun. Smart thing to do. Right. You know, why use all these knives when I can grab my Uzi
choke him from behind.
Yeah, and dude goes for the ghetto choke from behind. 2 hands, old school. You can tell this Cobra agent has no training, so Snake Eyes easily counters and just throws him right off the side of
What's the famous scream? The name of it?
The Wilhelm scream.
I guess that's the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, you can just hear it on that panel. And just great storytelling all the way through this. I mean, this is pure Larry Hama, and he's showing maturity. He's showing an understanding of cinematic storytelling, of graphic storytelling. Like, this is a great moment. You can kind of stretch these out in your mind. And this is great here where you see Destro. He's like, oh, my guards are being thrown. 2 arms. And here you see they've got the alarm going off. I mean, there's so much information in every panel. This is my original copy. This is why this thing is ratty, too. It is well worn, buddy.
Well, you slept on it.
Yeah, I slept on it. Yeah.
As a kid.
All kinds of things, yeah. And here, this is classic ninjutsu. Okay, so he gets to the top, asks the guard which way did he go. He went that way. 2 panels later, ha ha, fool! I shall unmask. It was I, Snake Eyes, all along. and this is classic ninjutsu misdirection. I remember there was an episode of it was like Ancient Warriors or something, or Ancient Arts, some kind of TLC program, but they featured ninjutsu, okay, and they set up a test to challenge Stephen Hayes, the ninja guy. Oh, let me show you this. This guy looks cool as shit in 1980. How badass is that? Like, he just stepped off the set of Conan. Yeah, right. It looks like The Dark Knight Begins. Batman Begins. Yeah.
He's part of that mountain, fortress.
Yeah, Ra's al Ghul's little cult, whatever they call it.
The Silent.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would definitely study ninjutsu with him, especially from 1980. But anyway, so this TLC channel, so they set up a test for him. So they challenged Stephen Hayes to get inside and kill their target. Okay. So they've got this guy inside a building, and there are monitor cameras all around the building, motion detectors, infrared sensors, everything. They've got 2 or 3 guards inside to guard the guy at all times. Okay, and to watch the cameras and all this stuff, okay? So what does he do? He disguises himself as a delivery man, and he comes to the door during the day.
Okay.
And is it delivery man? No, it's a repairman. Oh, that's it.
That's even better.
Yes, he says.
He says
they sent me to do maintenance, and they're like, what? And they're like, no, yeah, I got to work on this. And they open the door, and while they're looking at the paperwork, he takes out his little tag to kill the guy, and he touches him. Boom. It's like, there you go. Challenge accepted. Done. So he uses disguise. Okay, so here, this is actually a common, this is one of the ninja hand signs here. Now, you saw all of these in Enter the Ninja, used to great effect, where he goes through them, and he's doing his training under the waterfall.
On the cover?
There, you can see on the cover. So this is actually Sha. Sign of the Inner Lion. I thought it was kind of a strange choice, but that they're all making this symbol because it represents the internal workings of our body are symbolized by the lion within.
Okay.
Our health can provide us with enormous power or can destroy all chances for accomplishment in this lifetime. So they're essentially meditating with this symbol is what they're doing. So if you go literally by that, so maybe Larry Hama didn't quite have an exact interpretation of that. But for 1984, we'll give them a pass because this is pretty awesome stuff. So you've got psi weaponry here again, not a common weapon. We did see it in the Octagon though. There's a great sequence where he battles the Master Ninja there, where he's using a psi and whatnot. This is one of the rare movies where you see Chuck use traditional weaponry. See, there he's got the katana there on the back.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, just so classic, so classic. The pacing is a little slow. It's a typical kind of 70s thriller or whatever, but the training and the fight sequences are all still top notch. Just great stuff. Great stuff. Definitely one of my favorites. So Storm Shadow calls down his ninja brothers. I tell you, when I did my comics as a kid, I was like in the 5th and 6th grade, and I would do. The first ones were Spider-Man comics. I did 3 issues of Spider-Man. My mom threw them away while I was off at school, okay? Which just pisses me off. But it was every page, it was like an Image comic. It would just be a new character on every page, and they would fight. Okay. So it would start with Spider-Man leaving his apartment, and then a new guy would show up, and they'd be like, hey, we have to fight. And they would fight, and he'd go, no, I'm really a hero. And he goes, well, that's a good thing because there's some villains. And I would always use these. I would redraw a lot of these ninjas here as like the ninjas and whatnot. But man, I wish I had those 3 issues of Spider-Man because they had like all new characters like every other page. They fought, made up. Oh, here's a villain. Let's team up. Okay. It was good stuff. Again, Scarlett's just handling business here, taking advantage of her chain. This is a nice sequence here. So you see a little bit of that Taihen Jutsu, the body movement skills there from Snake Eyes, ducking around. Yep, using his environment to his advantage. All just good stuff. He's just completely one step ahead this entire time. Making his way up the steps. He sees the guy with the psi.
Grenade.
This is 1984, so they're definitely riffing on Raiders here.
Right.
Where the guy with the machete, where he's twirling the machete and
like, I'm gonna hit you with a grenade.
Yeah, Indiana Jones just shoots him. Yeah, he pulls out the gun and shoots him. He's like, I'm just gonna hit you with a grenade. Yeah, catch that with your psi. And the guy's like, no. This is great. Frag grenade. This panel too, I used to mimic this for explosions.
Okay.
And looking at how the lighting lands on there, so you don't have holding lines. On both sides of the psi, it's illuminated by the explosion. That's always good stuff. So here you see more ninjutsu. We see the return of the Kusarigama from issue 2 of Iron Fist Origin. Yeah. And you actually see proper hand positioning on the sword grips here. So you see 2 different Kame sword positions here. The first one is a standard Hasa no Kame, which you see here in the first panel. And then when he raises to the overhead position is a Daijodan no Kame. And each position, you're supposed to be able to, you have a direct strike out of each position. So he adjusts here in between panels to come at Snake Eyes.
So if you think about it, Snake Eyes approaching on either side are villains. And he just, boom, catches it, wraps him. And then what's going to happen next?
Redirects him
Redirects it, and then Storm Shadow, slice it, and then they go to battle.
Uses that Toby, the leaping skills again.
He did the Black Panther style kick.
Yeah, so this is the first glimpse where you're like, oh, well, he knocks him down, but then he just runs. Why doesn't he finish him?
Right.
You get that first little hint of a mystery between these guys, and we'll see a little bit more of that before the end of this issue. And by this time, Scarlett, even though he's come to save her, she's already saved herself.
Race out.
This is very progressive, yes. But hey, she had training. Okay, she's a military operative. She didn't just.
So did Grace. What's you talking about? She was going into things, scavenging, and knew how to do all kinds of scavenging skills.
Pain. So Scarlett saves herself. Saves herself, and now she, who was once the prisoner, is now the rescuer.
Oh, happy.
Comes to help Snake Eyes as she sees him here, and Storm Shadow is determined not to let him get away. I like this. This is not standard ninja attack, but ninja, unlike the samurai who would not throw their sword, a ninja will throw their sword. The samurai considers that dishonorable. Though it was always interesting in those samurai movies if the samurai were like even matched and they do something dishonorable to win, where they like throw their sword or use something like that.
The Snake Eye catch it.
Yeah, this is all great storytelling here to set this up. So leading you down to it, and you're thinking, okay, well now Scarlett's put herself in the way, but nope, catches the blade, throws it out of the way. Now that sequence, I mean, they do that in Enter the Ninja where he catches the blade as a defense. So
from a throw, like a thrown blade?
Not from a throne, it's from a strike. Yeah. Normal. So so you're definitely seeing influence from the films in this, but then they get away, and here's our last little mystery. You see the matching from the I Ching. What are those called? The hexagrams from the I Ching.
Are those the brands on theirs, or the tattoos?
I think they're tattoos. I think those are tattoos for those guys. And you see that Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow have the same one. And this set up so much mystery for me. I was like, oh my God, what does this mean? Did they train together? Are they ninjas? Are they from the same clan?
I'm just waiting for Storm Shadow to chop. The tank. Like from the cartoon.
Yeah.
Vibrated off part.
that was pretty classic moment when he does that on the cartoon. But yeah, so that is an absolute classic issue. It follows a lot of hallmarks that I like from good issues, in that it's self-contained. It's not treated necessarily like every story is every comic is somebody's first comic, but you can just pick it up and you can follow the action in it. You know who the bad guys are.
Storytelling.
You know who the damsel is. You recognize that this guy's coming to save you. You know, all the elements of telling this story are in there. So that was the first introduction of Storm Shadow, and they do follow up on this story in the next few issues. They wind up capturing Cobra Commander. This is a great Michael Golden cover here. I used to see these, and these were like, man, these just blew me away. But you could rarely find his signature.
Okay.
You know, so I never knew it, exactly who it was. You know, now I recognize him, instantly. But
didn't he get Doctor Strange run? The Golden had Doctor Strange run?
Yeah, he did the Doctor Strange run. Yeah.
Amazing art.
Doctor Strange, Micronauts. He did a lot of he did several G.I.Joe covers. He didn't have like a run of covers. He would just kind of drop in one here and there.
Right.
He did draw the special missions issues. So he drew a couple of those that were really cool. So Cobra Commander gets captured, and Storm Shadow has to go and help break him out. So they kind of follow up on some of this stuff. So there you go. So the Art of the Ninja, as it makes its way into comic books via G.I. Joe and Larry Hama, and Silent Interlude became definitely a very influential and inspirational issue upon me. It's definitely one that anytime I go through and I make like a pull box of issues to read,
this one,
this is one that will just wind up in there, because I love to put together. Sometimes it's just I just want to see single issues that told a story and they just wrapped it up all in one issue. None of that Image Comics or Claremont stuff where you have to go across 50 issues to figure out everything that's going on, but actually have condensed storytelling that delivers in that issue. And this one always makes it. It's a great cover. Any closing thoughts on ninjutsu on display here?
I mean, this is one book I don't have in my collection, but it's a legendary book that everyone always talks about. Silent G.I. Joe Snake Eyes, because even in the cartoon, whose favorite character was the Snake Eyes growing up?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's a great issue.
There was an interesting crossover between the cartoon and the comics and the action figures. Larry Hama helped coordinate a lot of the elements, okay? So in the cartoon, they showed how Snake Eyes met his wolf, and then in the second wave of figures, they included the wolf in the figures. So you had to watch that cartoon series to see where Snake Eyes met the wolf and how that was all explained. And that it gave it such a meta reality, because at the time, I was looking at all these things. I'm like, well, the new figure has a wolf. That doesn't make any sense. And then you watch those episodes and you're like, holy cow, there it is. They all cross together.
Those cartoons made them sell toys.
Yeah, there you go. It was a license to print money. That is for certain. Until they were brought down by the same thing that brought down everything else at the time, just the moral panic of the era. You know, and those parents had no idea what was waiting for us down the line.
Knowing is half the battle.
That's right. Knowing is half the battle. So there you go. All right, denizens, thanks for watching. We will return to the Snake Eyes Ninja storyline in later episodes of Comic Book Dojo. Phil K, tell the citizens out there where they can find you.
On Twitter at FatJitsu, FATJITSU. On Twitter, I'm right there.
All right, and you can find all of those links right down below. As always, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Invite your grandma. She'll love it. Thanks for watching.
Hajime.
Mate.